Moves podcast. We are glad that you are here with us. It's another day. We're diving into something great that helps us make a bold move. And I think as we dive into this idea of being united for the next few weeks, this is what we're going to be talking about. What is it that unites us? Mm-hmm. Well, the biggest uniter of people that I have seen in my life is actually our faith. When you are united in your faith in Jesus, that is the great uniter. It brings people from all walks of life together, people you never would have connected with or even wanted to connect with
Possible,
or associated with in any other way. All of a sudden, because you have a faith in Jesus, it gives you all kinds of things in common, and your mission and the focus of your life becomes very, very much the same. And so I've always been intrigued by the fact that when you talk about being united, like having unity, A, that's something that Jesus prayed specifically for us to experience. B, that only comes from being focused on Jesus. And I don't think we should underestimate or take too lightly the power of the unity that we have in Jesus. I think about moments where I've been out of the country. Like we went to Ecuador last year. We went and worshiped with a church, a family in Ecuador, in a city I'd never been, a third world country. It's a completely different culture. I don't speak the language. Nobody knows me. I'm able to walk into that building and experience them worshiping Jesus in songs and realize, oh, this is family. Like we're in this together. And it's crazy, the bond that creates with a completely different culture, total strangers halfway around the world. Like it's amazing. So I don't know if you've experienced that in your lives as well. How does that impact you? Have you experienced unity with people in your life because of your faith? What does that look like?
I think we can say that maybe a lot of times like our friendships. I mean, everybody, so a lot of my friends, I've grown up in church. I've spent a lot of time in church. I've worked at churches for quite a while. And so it becomes natural that my friend group is the people from church.
Yes.
And I would even say this, I mean, we were kind of discussing this in advance, but I actually would say that I probably would never have met my wife.
Oh, that's wild.
If we hadn't gone to church together. Our faith in Jesus bringing us together at Crossroads and more specifically part of our Mishawaka campus launch. If that hadn't happened, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't think we ever would have run into each other in any of our circles. Like, it probably wouldn't have happened. So yeah, it's crazy sometimes how some of those things work out.
So let me just be honest with you. So I was part of the visionary crew that brought to life the idea, hey, let's plant a church in Mishawaka. Is it safe to say that I played the role of like Cupid and bringing you and Kenzie together, and I'm a matchmaker? Did I do that, Corey?
No. Nope.
No, I think I did that.
I'm going to claim that, actually.
You did a lot of work.
I'm going to claim that.
It was a lot of work, Chris. A lot of work.
Let's give credit where credit's due.
That's so good. That's so good. Kristen, what do you see in that regard?
I'm the same, that I grew up in church, and a lot of my closest friends were people that I went to church with, even though actually a lot of my high school friends, only some of us went to high school together. The rest were, we just had this really strong youth group connection. So our faith united us there. John and I met at Bethel. So we were in our Bethel bubble, which is another faith thing. Our faith took us to a Christian school and met that way. And then, just at Crossroads, a lot of my closest friends go to Crossroads. So
what's amazing about that you see time and time again in people's stories is that, like, I grew up in a Christian bubble. My dad was a pastor. I was at church all the time. And now the people that I hang out with that are growing in their faith are people who come from completely different backgrounds. We have people who've been called into ministry at Crossroads who just a few years ago they found themselves in jail, addicted to heroin. I mean, that's Micah's story that we celebrate. It's like, I would never have met Micah. We would never have become friends. That all happens because of Jesus. Like, he unites us. Now we're all focused on following Jesus, and that brings us together. And I that's one example. But I mean, think about the significance of how the power and the love and the mission of Jesus, it truly does unite us. And it helps us overlook all the differences that we have, whether it's political opinions. Like, when you go to church, you're going, I hate to say this to people, you're going to church with Republicans and you're going to church with Democrats.
Oh,
like this
wow.
time of year, especially, it's like, that can't
Here
be
we
true.
go.
Yeah.
Everybody at my church thinks the exact same way I do about everything. No, they don't. What
Yeah.
unites us is actually Jesus, which is actually more important than anything else that's out there. But I think that a lot of times we get lost in the shuffle, the significance of what we have in Jesus and how that unites us. It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful bond that really is, it supersedes everything else in life.
So there was this one time I went to a birthday party. It was with another Crossroads friend. And I looked around and there were a ton of CR people there.
Yes,
like,
Crossroads Recovery.
Yeah.
Recovery groups.
And I wouldn't, I sing at CR every great once in a while. And so I get to meet these people that they don't necessarily come on a Sunday morning. What united them was their different walks of life coming together for recovery and faith in God.
And that's amazing.
Right? Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I had looked around and I was like, we would not have all been together at this birthday party if it wasn't for people coming to CR.
Yes. And there's beauty that comes from all of the different walks of life coming together. It's an amazing thing to celebrate that God changes us and transforms and brings us together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think it's worth our time to mention and just to circle that in the scriptures, like when we look at John 17 in particular, what we find is Jesus is about ready to be crucified. He's praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. The guards are literally about to come and arrest him, and he's going to go through the process of being crucified. He knows that's about to happen. And the last thing he does in praying in Gethsemane is actually he prays for us. He prays for himself. He prays for his disciples in the moment. And then he begins praying for all of those who will believe because of them, which is us. Like he's praying for you and he's praying for me. Yeah. And the key theme of that prayer is, God, may they all experience unity. Like may they be one as you and I are one. And I think that we have to take that seriously. Like that is a big deal. When we are focused on Jesus, when we're living out his mission and the love and the power that he has for us, it unites us and it makes a difference, even in a culture that experiences so much division on a regular basis. And I don't think we can undervalue the significance of that in our lives.
Well, especially, I mean, we talked a little, you said something about just like the political lines that are drawn. Yeah. We would be crazy to pretend like that doesn't exist. That's a real thing. And it drives a lot of people. And that world, especially in 2024, I don't know that it's always been this way, but especially in 2024.
Yeah.
Disunity, like drawing lines and being as far away from each other as you possibly can be, is what drives that entire world. And so it's just interesting to kind of look at it differently and think like, what would it be like if our goal was a common goal and that we were actively trying, regardless of what side you're on, actively trying to come together as a people. Even just in this country. I mean, leave it right here. It would make an incredible difference. And that's not even necessarily like a faith-centered goal or a Jesus-centered goal.
But how much unity makes a difference just even in that circle.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah. You said at the beginning of the podcast, like, what unites us? And then you said faith. And I thought in my head, Taylor Swift. Well, just there's so many, but there's so many avenues of life that like unites people. And so, like all the Swifties, they're all
they gather
fans
in the streets
together.
And sing the songs at the concerts.
Yeah, there are other groups like, well, we used to live like right downtown Mishawaka, and there was a motorcycle like group that unified them. But like the most important one has to be that faith. Like the other ones are not, like they're only accomplishing
it's one
a
random
small
thing.
Goal. Yeah.
Your faith is so central. That changes everything. Yeah. So I'm just very intrigued by the reality that when we are truly focusing on Jesus and when we are united in him, man, that makes a huge difference. And people see that in a culture and in a world that is so divided. For them to see people who are united in Jesus, I think that allows our light to just shine in the darkness, and it makes a huge difference in the lives of people around us. And so to talk a little bit more about that today, we have 5 good minutes coming up here with Colton Townley. Okay. So let's give it up for Colton and invite him to Bold Moves. We are extraordinarily grateful to have Colton Townley with us. Colton,
what's going on, guys?
Welcome to the Bold Moves podcast.
Yeah.
We are experiencing 5 good minutes with you. That's what we've dubbed it. So don't let us down, Colton.
Let's go 5 great minutes, and let's get really bold here, okay?
5 extraordinary minutes.
The bold move bringing me on. So 5 incredible minutes.
Really is. It really is. Honestly, Colton, when you and I get together, you never know where that conversation's going to go.
When you and I get together, you usually say things that you don't want repeated. And I'm like, hey, your secret's safe.
I don't know what he's talking about.
You know?
Definitely not the story that we didn't record before this, for sure.
Let's just say he goes full Michael Scott when we're around each other. And it's like, can you say that? I'm just kidding.
Thank you for that.
You leave your pastor hat on at all times. And I've never heard you say anything that you would regret.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Colton. I appreciate it, especially since I know my parents watch this podcast. And I appreciate that affirmation. Yeah, that's
You're welcome. On this.
What are your parents' names?
Mike, and get ready for it, Ronald. Mike and Ronald.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Ronald.
Yeah,
it's great to see
there
you.
We go.
We're glad you're watching.
Shout out.
Welcome to 4 more excellent minutes. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We're killing this time effectively.
Yes.
Well done, guys. Well done. Colton, you guys just made a big life move. What's going on in the world? What's happening with you guys?
Yeah, we did. So I married my wife, Jessica. Her family actually works on your staff. So we got a connection there. So
Kelsey and Anthony over here.
Kelsey and Anthony. Yep. And then we've got 3 kids, and we just made the move this summer, about a month ago, from Phoenix, where we were on staff at a large non-denominational church. And we're now lead pastors back in the Nazarene fold here in Denver, Colorado. So at the Crossing Church.
Awesome.
So we just started. We're about
excited.
1 month in, and it's been really good. A lot to learn and a lot to do. And yeah, I'm excited about it. So.
Yeah. You know what's amazing? We're talking about unity and how our faith in Jesus unites us. What's crazy to me is that you can go anywhere, and when you experience another group of believers, people who are following Jesus and unite around Him, you instantly have things in common. So, like, you're moving to a brand new place, Colton, and yet there's familiarity, right? Sure. I mean, there's people that you already connect with because of faith.
I love the church for so many reasons, but one of it is because it's just built-in connection, you know. And like I have very little in common with these people. I don't have relational equity yet. I don't know them. They don't know me. We don't know their families. We haven't shared experiences together, but yet we're connected around our faith. And there's just this beautiful thing that is the church that, you know, it like from the jump, you've got unity, and then you just build off that. And what a beautiful place to build a relationship off of when you're already united. And it's not because of anything that you did together or because of all this work you've put into it, but it's because of the gospel, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It's pretty great that that's a starting point that we can all experience together. Talk to us about it. We were kind of talking in the setup here of how faith unites people from all different backgrounds. Like, we've seen people who are called to ministry who came from completely different backgrounds than we did, and how just that faith in Jesus, it really does. It unites us in mission. It unites us in love. The power of Jesus unites us together when we're focused on Him. How have you experienced that in your life, Colton? What's made the most impact on your life because of that?
Yeah.
So I've done ministry in a lot of urban cities. Jess and I, we were campus pastors or online pastors in downtown Los Angeles, where you've got people that are just from all over the map as far as their life experiences, their beliefs, what they're searching for. We did ministry in Phoenix as well, in downtown. And what I've found is, I mean, you talked about how love is you know, such a uniting factor. And when we truly embody the nature of who Jesus is, regardless of where people are coming from, it unites us. People they're not turned off by the gospel. They're turned off by people, right? They're not turned off by Jesus. They're turned off by people who don't look like Jesus.
That's exactly right.
There's an example of this when we were living in Burbank doing ministry in Los Angeles. We lived in this, it's so expensive to live in LA. And so we had to live in this really tiny apartment. And my kids were 2 and 4 at the time. And across from us, so Burbank has a ton of, it's got a huge Armenian culture there. So we were in this big kind of like 2-story apartment complex. And it was probably 70% Armenians were our neighbors. And across from us was this old grandma. We literally called her Old Grandma. We didn't know her. And she lived in the door across from us. And it was so sweet. Her and her husband, about probably 3 months after we moved there, her husband passed away, and they don't speak any English.
Wow.
We watched as that happened, and you could just see in her demeanor how heartbroken she was. She speaks no English, but my kids would go over and they would hug her every time that she would walk by, she would go, "To the bedbis, come." And my kids would run over and they would hug her, and her guard would just drop. And then my kids ended up running into her apartment and would like pick up her phone and dial fake numbers from her phone. And it was like we never said a single word of shared language with each other, but we shared some moments of just deep unity and connection. And it was because love's a universal language. It really is. Good. Yeah. And when you can love people, you break down barriers. When you recognize that she's coming from a place of loss, I know what loss feels like. Yeah. And I know how to love somebody in that. And when you know people are coming from, everybody's got a story, man. Everybody's got a backstory, a history that's kind of brought them to where they are. And when you can just lead with love, I think which is what Jesus does. I mean, that's the gospel right there. You look at the different, people that he was sitting with at tables, and it was people that, his first inclination was, I love you, Yeah. And so that's one thing I've noticed is that no one's turned off by love. So
that's a good word.
That's very good. Yeah.
Colton, can we have fun for just a second? Can you tell us how you and Jessica actually met? Can you tell that story? Because that's fantastic.
It's great. So about 10 years ago, there's this app called Tinder. And if you swipe right, I'm just kidding.
Mom, don't Google that. Don't Google that.
No, we actually met on a Southwest Airlines flight. We sat side by side on a Southwest Airlines flight.
That's amazing.
And we went and the whole story, I mean, when I tell it, it's hilarious and it's full of God's hand and it's just the best. But we went from strangers on a flight to married in 10 months. Like it was, and at that point I wasn't in ministry. Jess was like, she was doing worship ministry. She was just living this awesome life. I was kind of like making a mess of my life. And we met and it changed everything for both of us. But, I think about me and it course corrected my life completely. It's just the coolest story. So now we only fly Southwest.
It is God's airline, right? I mean,
Chick-fil-A is the Lord's chicken.
Yeah.
Southwest is the Lord's. Is that how that works?
It's the airline of love. They literally, the heart is like their logo. You pick
awesome.
You pick where you sit, and that's what
I was going to say. Yeah, that wasn't an accident.
Second.
No,
it was by her. She sat by you.
I sat down second, so she boarded first. She was like A3 or something like that, and she's so pretty. If you saw her, she's just beautiful. And I'm like, there's no way. A guy's not going to sit down next to her. She's just too attractive to walk past. And so she boards and goes all the way to the back of the plane, intentionally hoping to give me a chance to sit down next to her. I was like,
get out of here.
Right. I was like one of the last, and I'm like just praying. At this point, my faith was like, it was a mustard seed in general. And I'm like, God, if you're real, I'm like, if you're real, God, just get me there. Okay. You get me there. I'm going to bring it home. Let's tag team this. And sure enough, I've never walked away from the Lord since.
So good. Hey, let's bring that into focus because I feel like there's a nugget there. Yeah. So you two go from strangers to married in 10 months. I feel like even unity and faith had to play a big part in that, right?
It absolutely did. Yeah, I was so attracted to her faith. Her faith inspired me. And I think
I'm laughing. I know you're serious, but I know. Okay, good for you, Colton. That's hilarious. You were attracted to her faith. That might be the most Christian thing that you've ever said.
I mean, it was her face that drew me in. It was her faith that kept me there,
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, got it.
I'm not going to take that back. I love that she was a worship pastor. I love that she was following Jesus.
I mean, honestly, seriously, as that starts to unfold, like you begin to learn more about her, that is what draws you to her, right? Because that's real. Yeah, absolutely.
So one, I was raised in a Christian home, so it wasn't like it was completely foreign to me that she was in ministry. Yep. But I was definitely not. For the 5 years that I had been living in Los Angeles before that, I was not pursuing Jesus at all. I was pursuing LA, the culture of the world, the entertainment industry. And I had made a mess of my life. And when I met her, it's little things like she had been living in Bakersfield for a year. She was, working in worship ministry as, fresh out of college, was making what, an average worship pastor will make. And she had paid off her car. She had no student loans. She had, she had set herself up. And I was making six figures and was in debt. And I'm like, there was something about the way she was doing life that was so inspiring to me. And I knew it was rooted in her faith. And I saw the fruit of her life and I loved it. And I wanted to be like that. And
that's
on top of that, she was beautiful. But and I think that's the thing too in the world is like our fruit needs to be the most attractive thing about us. You know, that people look at our lives and they realize we're doing things differently, and we're not condemning, we're not throwing stones, but we're bearing fruit. And that fruit should be inspiring to people who are making a mess of their life by walking apart and separate from Jesus, you know?
Okay, so there it was. Our fruit needs to be the most attractive part of our life. Colton, there it is. I mean, I don't know how you put a better cherry on the top of that than saying it like...
Hey, is that a fruit joke?
No.
Yeah, it was. I see what you did there.
No. I think the reality is, like, when Jesus prayed for us to be unified, why is that? It's because people see that in us. I mean, it's so obvious that there's something real there, that there's something authentic when you are unified in your faith. I think that's why it's so important. And that is inspiring. That is attractive to people who are desperate for something more and for something real. So I think that matters. I think you nailed that, Colton. That is a good word. That is a good word. Yeah. You got any other thoughts to add to that? What else you got? No. It's been 5 good minutes, man.
5 great minutes. It really has been.
5 extraordinary minutes.
Colton, I hope it's been as good for you as it has been for me. I've loved it. I love hanging with you guys.
Maybe better. Colton, it's always a pleasure. It's always fun hanging out. And seriously, you've made a huge life move. You're now in Denver at the Crossing Church. Man, we're praying we're praying blessings for you.
You're praying my blessings over.
Praying blessings on us with you in our presence.
That's great.
Just praying that God uses you in an amazing way. I think you guys have some extraordinary days in front of you. So we're excited for you. We're cheering you on. And thanks for joining us, man. It's been good to have you.
Thanks for leading the way. Love you, bro. Right. Good to see you
later.
All right. Bye, guys.
I love that guy. It's always good talking with Colton. He makes me laugh, but he's one of those guys. He has the ability of not taking himself too seriously. He has fun, but he takes what he does very seriously. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that about him. And to be clear, that statement he said about our fruit needing to be the most attractive thing about it, or was it the faith being the most attractive thing about us? Because now I'm questioning my judgment.
We're going to have to check the tape and let everybody know.
We'll have to check the tape. But the reality is, I think that puts the perfect just cap on what Jesus is praying for us about. If he is praying that we are unified as one, just as he is one with the Father, that people see that in it, that authenticity, it's real. The hope that they're looking for, the love that they're wanting to experience, they're going to see that in us when we are living on mission, when we are living in living out the love of Jesus. So I thought that was powerful. I thought it was a great way to just kind of summarize everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, no question. It just really highlights the importance of just us being unified, all of us together, doing it together, how that makes such a difference.
Yeah.
For sure.
Keeping the main thing, and unifying in our faith. It brings us together, and it shows the world who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good word. Well, I would challenge you then, as we come to a close, we talk about making bold moves. I would say boldly live out your faith. Allow that faith to unify you with other believers. And in doing so, let's make the bold move of letting our light shine and letting our faith, letting the fruit of that faith be the most amazing thing about our lives.
And don't hold back, right? I mean, it's funny that he's talking about on an airplane. That's how he met his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever said more than 3 words to somebody next to me on an airplane.
Yes.
So that's a challenge for me is to not
boldly
hold back.
share that faith.
For sure.
Yeah. That's great. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by. This has been another episode of Bold Moves. When it's time to make your move, be bold. We'll see you next time.